I go drink to that.
We in the rum shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
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 So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
If ever there was an episode of Rum Shop Talk that could have used some rum, today is that day. Because today it cold in here. And I'm telling you it cold. But we will fight it through. We will give them some hot talk and see if that will take over. As many of you know, our co-host, Stephan Reis, is on bereavement leave. The passing of his dad, and we remember him today fondly, and we again say, may he rest in peace. Today, it is me and Dr. Stephen Matteson, and we will be going at some issues today, because we could have stick a pin, and that was an option. We had two other guests that couldn't make it because of the weather and the flooding and all that drama. And we sat down in the beginning and he said, we could stick a pin today. The issues need ventilating, and the problem is, Trinidad is a place that this week's issues had to be ventilated this week, and next week it's gone, right? Let me hand it over to the doc.
Yes, good evening. Phillip, it's good to be here today, and in spite of the weather, there are a lot of issues that we may want to talk about. So Phillip and I today will be drinking some 20-year-old scotch.
Oh boy. One good day.
You know, a good rum shot chat today.
One good day, my brother. One good day. But some of the critical issues, and I want to deal with, now I don't want to say one issue is bigger than the other, but I'm just saying some of the issues that have to get addressed should be addressed in the order that they came into the public space. We just came out of the Diwali celebration. This, and Shubh Diwali again to everybody, to all of our Hindu brothers and sisters and the nation as a whole. And I found that many of the releases from politicians were heavily politicized. And everybody trying to take the light of Diwali and politicize it. And I find that that is wrong. And I want to say that, you know, we have, even if it's not as acknowledged as it is in the United States, we have a separation of religion from politics, and we should maintain that, because religion is a safe space for a lot of people. You know, they retreat to that. And I don't like that he releases, and I just saying this, and I put that out there, that when you're writing greetings, even if it's from a political party, respect the fact that this is somebody's religion and a high holiday to them, and not use it to sell your product or sell yourself. You know, I saw that some members of the faith went at Dwayne Bravo, a couple other people, and I was trying to explain this yesterday. Dwayne Bravo celebrating Diwali, going and eat his curry, because you know Trinidad curry is synonymous with Diwali. And he said, my favorite time of year or something like that, Happy Diwali. And he gets some licks because in his box was meat.
Well, that speaks to the ignorance of Trinidadians, because since I know myself, Diwali, if we prepare curry, you don't eat food without meat. So I was not aware that I know beef was something, but I was not aware that
a lot of people get
all
caught
kind
with this.
of meat.
A lot of people get caught with this.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. So, I mean, that is not that is almost the same thing with everybody in Trinidad.
I think that, you know, expecting people to know the ins and outs of your faith, and I try to point it out to people that when the UNC was in office, Minister Jairam C. Mangal went to a event in a Catholic church. And he saw the people get up and line up to go for communion. He didn't know what they were doing, but he there. So he get up and he joined the line. And I could understand the mistake, and I told people that. Maxi Coffee put him on blast on the front page of the Mirror and Game Licks. And I told Maxi and I told the overly zealous Catholics, and the same applied when I was trying to defend the situation. And I used the example. I told them, assume he doesn't know. There's no sign. There's no sign, there's no rule. Nobody told him.
Yeah, but it started off talking about the politics or how politicians use these festivals. I mean, that is something that has been happening since I know myself. Again, you know, Diwali, you see all the politicians who are not Hindus, they will visit all these Hindu mandals.
That you could do, that's respect.
And out of respect, but you see them doing things in prayer and puja and that kind of thing, and sometimes you wonder if normally they wouldn't do something like that.
No.
And but strange, they don't participate at the level they do for the other holidays that represents the Africans.
Or Shouta Baptists.
Well, Shouta Baptists, yeah, they
They still
do
get
pay
some
them some
releases.
homage and that kind of thing, but emancipation, you don't see the level of participation by Afro-Trinidadian politicians in the same way as you see them with East Indians. So it could only be redound as politics, in my opinion.
But to be honest, and I say this again, that showing up for the festival and taking part is cool. What I was referring to is press releases, sending greetings to you on your holiday, and then making it about your politics.
Yes.
That
too is a
but coming back to Dwayne Brown, and I had to tell a guy, there's a guy named Rudy Samaru who real rabid, and he come in and he the analogy he used to me was that's like somebody having sex and saying Happy Easter. That's not a real analogy. That's just wild.
That's something like me, but
He just only fella with the Happy Easter or Rudy. but I want to say that now Dwayne Bravo is no stranger to making these klutzy mistakes. Dwayne Bravo put out a song called Champion. A champion, that song, right? And in that whole A Champion song, it's only people of Afro descent. Only Afro-Chinese. He didn't name one Syrian Trini, not one Chinese Trini, not one Caucasian Trini, not one East Indian Trini. Nobody else was a champion. If you could find it, you could hear them champion and listen to that song. Because he even went foreign and find foreign champions and not one other than a specific and that to me was a more glaring error.
Even that to me is of no significance because, well, I might say that because I was heavily represented in the video by my race, but the thing is that to me is, yeah, no. But to me that is insignificant. I mean, we looked at things. If you look at the
no, but he's a national figure.
Yeah, but still,
you have to. That is telling me that you don't know Meet on Diwali. I could understand. Telling me that you write a song about champions, and you have it. You have the song. Let me take in the words of the song.
DJ Bravo, DJ Bravo, DJ Bravo, DJ Bravo, champion, 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 champion. Everybody knows say Bravo, a champion, 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 champion,
of cricket and football. From a dance in a my name I call. Champion, champion, every Trinity and every yard man. Champion, champion, every BC and every Bajan. Champion, champion, every Trinity and every yard man. Champion, champion, Beanie a champion, Bounty a champion, Marshall is a champion, Bungie is a champion, Folland is a champion, Lara is a champion, Gale is a champion. Don't forget Michael Jordan, Obama a champion, Mandela a champion, Serena a champion, Wendy a champion, Shelly and a champion, 958 Bolt a champion.
Champion, 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 champion.
Everybody knows say Bravo a champion.
Champion, 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 champion.
Everybody know Chris Gale is a champion. Reis is a champion.
I have never, I don't know, first time I listening to the video, first time I listening to the
Words.
the words.
Is
in
that
that way.
insignificant, sir?
And so that was insignificant to me.
But I still say that he is a national cricketer. He should have been aware that there are other people who are a champion of different races in Trinidad and Tobago. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It looked like the song was written monolithically. Soca and dancehall. I'm the chutney, not a champion.
Yeah.
And I have to say this because I'm defending Bravo on the one hand, but I want to tell him, brother, be a more winner.
Yeah.
And if I was doing Bravo, I would re-release Champion and broaden it and give it Dylan Carter and some of the Trinidad cricketers. I can't say that I could speak for anybody, but they have a lot of other people who could be a champion too. That you could include. We had Syrian footballers in Trinidad.
Let me ask you something. You know,
Burchall is our champion.
you are a politician, right?
Yeah. A reluctant politician, I'm not saying.
A budding politician, I should say. For electoral politics.
Absolutely.
And we in Trinidad and Tobago, we have two groups of people that are usually synonymous with politics in Trinidad and Tobago. East Indians, who controls a block of the electorate, and they have Africans who, well, a party who postulate themselves as an African party, but their following are largely Africans, Trini Africans. What would you do as a half Syrian or a Syrian politician? Would you your main proletariat be Syrians or?
No, it's not the same. And in fact, I want to say like the United Kingdom just appointed Hindu, East Indian of South African descent.
I heard a comment today, somebody said that the Calcutta ship just landed in London.
That's funny. But Obama was representative of what, 9%? The Afro community is 9% as a minority in America. And you cannot get into government and consider yourself or your race. Trinidad is the only place that practices that stupidness.
Yeah.
Trinidad is the only country that practices that stupidness because, I mean, if you look...
Well, yeah, but no, because when Trump was elected in 2016,
he's an aberration.
To a large extent, it was a kind of nationalist movement that kind of like put Trump in office.
He overdid that and it made it an aberration. And while I want to be very careful, I'm going to fine tune what I'm going to say. The world has gotten to a place that is very confusing with the cancel culture, being awoke, and with all of the variations that exist now. I mean, comedians are talking about it more than anybody else because it's getting harder and harder to write a joke. Right?
Yeah.
And humor is, when you look at the Three Stooges, pratfalls and hitting one another and stuff like that. Humor is taking a poke at things that make you you.
Yeah.
You know?
But why I ask you that though is when you listen to the comments out there about you being or you a possible candidate in a country where you have predominantly African and East Indians, and what most people are saying, apart from the fact that you're talking too much or you're arrogant and that kind of thing, apart from that.
So wait, you're ignoring the people who talking about how sexy I am,
well,
how bright I am,
yeah,
and
but
the policies that I...
right.
Okay,
They say that too. They say that too.
Alright,
By
but
the
don't
way.
leave that out.
They say that too. But one of the things one of the things some people say is that, but he's a Syrian, he coming in to fix the people, you know, he talking a lot right now, but you
Who
know.
can fix my people more than Rowley? Rowley fix my people. My people fix. I see only Syrian, half Syrian and half not fix. But you see, and I want to say, first of all, our politics has been ruined by race. It's been ruined by race, and
And it's an illusion, by the way.
it's an absolute illusion, because when you talk about getting your section, right? So 2/3 of the country could be said to be, 2/3 of the electorate could be said to be African or Indian, and everybody else fall in one catchment of a third. That's what they say. But the reality that presents itself to us is very few people in Trinidad are purebred. Very few people could trace their race back to one race. Very few. I don't think it is a large enough percentage, that if you really wanted to be racist, Robert Amaris tells me all the time that what really affecting us is ethnic and not race. And I understand what he's trying to say. But in Trinidad, even the Venezuelans came to realize that empanada in Trinidad is an arepa, and call it what Trinidadians know it as if you want to sell it. So we talk race in the politics, and the British, when they ruled us, practiced divide and rule. That is how that tiny little island
And that has never
changed.
That has never changed.
Because they ruined what is the new world was then the third world. That's what it took.
They probably sold the idea to the Eric Williams clan.
But they realized when they came in, and I want to say, maybe Eric Williams had grand ideas, but it is such an overpowering amount of work and power at the same time that you could decide, and I feel this is what he did. I feel he decided to retreat to what was working before independence. And what was working before independence?
Or to retreat to what would probably have him winning elections all the time.
Makes it easier. That's it.
The thing is, we are defined a lot by either the hue of our skin and the texture here as Africans or persons who are of African descent, and East Indians by the hue of their skin to some extent, and the texture of the hair.
We're gonna, you know what? We'll finish this conversation, but they have a next level to the conversation, and I want to talk about that too. But the point is, when you realize that you do not know what you're doing, then you appeal to base emotions like race.
Mm-hmm.
People who appeal to race
That's
don't
sick people.
talk policy.
Yeah.
I am the person that walked the rivers in Trinidad. I am the person who has exposed that for 60 years, our government, this is why some people don't like me. The truth that I put out in the public space is burn them like sunlight is burn vampires. I walked the rivers and I showed Trinidad and Tobago that we have a rainforest climate, that we should never not have water. There should be nobody in Trinidad manufacturing water tanks. There should be nobody in Trinidad selling pumps. Trinidad shouldn't have water trucks and water bottles. Trinidad should have more than an abundance of water. We capture the rain in our drainage system in our hills and flush it out to the sea. That's what our drainage system is. We have no respect for the water, but that's when Trinidad, and we copied again what we met. We met how the colonizers was managing the country when they were living on half of 1% of the country. We just continue to build that and copy that without understanding that at some point, Wrightson Road is named after an engineer that reclaimed all of the front of Port of Spain, all of South Key, everything. The sea used to lap against the Red House walls. When you reclaim, at some point, even if you flatten it out to keep the sea, you make a bowl. So when you used to be able to just wash it out to sea, you can't anymore. Now when the Queen's Park Savannah flood, Independence Square will flood. You could time it. You could go and run jockey boat from the Savannah down Frederick Street, down Henry Street, down Charlotte Street, down Pembroke Street, because it's going Independence Square. And they're going to flood Independence Square, they're going to flood South Key because it's coming from the hills because they have nowhere for it to go. I am the one who told Trinidad and Tobago that retention ponds in Port of Spain, that if we dig up from the cathedral to Hyatt, where the Brian Lara Promenade is now, and go down 30 feet and build a massive retention pond underneath Brian Lara Promenade, cover it back, people could walk on it and enjoy themselves as it is now. The water will have somewhere to go and not just pool. And when the sun come out, you can pump that to wherever your reservoirs are, and we'll never lose that water. The water that we call flood is the water we want in our taps. We don't manage any of it. We, as a country, these are the issues that do not get discussed at the level of conversation. When you do not have an idea how to manage something as basic as the free bounty of water from the sky, you're going to come to people and appeal to the race. Vote for me because I'm black. Vote for me because I'm Indian. But how has it helped Afro-Trinbagonians?
That's the question Afro-Trinbagonians have to ask themselves.
PNM.
How has it helped them?
PNM has had economic, legislative, social control of this country
About
for
almost 50 years.
almost 90% of our independence.
Yeah.
They have had black Trinbagonians should have no problems. If you say that there are people who say I come in to fix Syrians, then who fixing black people?
Exactly.
Who fixing them? Who fixing Mova, Beatam, Lavantel, Sealots? Who is fixing Patna and River State and Bagatelle and Covine and Rich Plain and Mason? Who fixing La Puritan, Saganga and Abbey Pujar and Big Yard and Scorpion and Never Dirty and Waterhole and Cocorit and Point Kumana? Who fixing that? All of our crime that they wanted, they bring out 113 new police today to run down that kind of poverty-fueled crime. Comes out of those 90%, I can't say all, but comes out of impoverished communities. Edinburgh 500, Mbakade, the whole train line. Trinidad has been run into the ground, and they've made sure that the education system for black people, for poor people, is a different education system to the prestige school system. It's paid for by the same government, is run by the same minister, but they know it's a different syllabus, a different curriculum. They know the best teachers go St. Mary's and Presentation and Holy Name. They know that. Queen's Royal College.
Well,
because it is an insult to reason that you could have a country this small, have 200,000 children as your total education system, and not be able to manage the 4,000 teachers and the $5 billion in funding and get all of the schools to function at the same high level. People of African descent invented what we know as science and mathematics. They were writing in Africa when the people in England were still running around naked, eating raw meat. And I want to be clear, so nobody can say it's because black people stupid. We say this in Trinidad. You hear people say this in Trinidad, that they had to, when you hear people talk, it's upset me. It's upset me the way they speak. When you restrain people and give them no hope, no opportunity, and then they come out underdeveloped, and then you blame them for their underdevelopment, that is the literal definition, translation of adding insult to injury. The injury is that you are underdeveloping them, and the insult is that you are calling them underdeveloped.
Well, you're touching on a lot of things there that makes a lot of sense. And the first one is the education system. In my opinion, the education system is designed to create mass workers.
Leave a lot of people
right?
behind, yeah?
So the people who, if you look around the most wealthiest people in the world today, they don't have what probably I and some of the people who have 3 and 4 degrees have, right? But they are the most wealthiest because they understood that they didn't need to go to school to get a job. You understand?
Absolutely.
And to a large extent, the schools, our education system in particular, does not teach you how to leave school and be self-sufficient, leave school and be an entrepreneur. It teaches you to, programs you, I should say, to pass the exam and look for a job after, compete on the job market. The thing is, I view this all the time with students. From the time the term start, everybody is exam-centric. They want to know what coming in the exam because all they are focused on is passing the exam.
But your boy Morgan certificate mill.
Right? So it's a certificate mill. And the thing is, at the end of the day, they come out of school with all these fancy degrees because they focus all their life in school on trying to pass the exam. So they come out with these lovely degrees and they can't think. They can't functionalize. Exactly. So all they do is read what's in a book, regurgitate it, put it on an exam paper, and they look good. And they call themselves bright or educated.
But you see,
but they're really not intelligent. They can't critically think.
But again, that goes to the heart of the failure of the system.
Well, and this is what I'm saying.
What is the purpose of that education? We have an education system that is supposed to prepare you for a career so that you can have a life. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
What careers are available to people in Trinidad and Tobago? Who knows? Who tells you? Where is the planning? The government has no clue. And I've said this to people before, that if the government said that Trinidad and Tobago was aiming to excel, I'm going to use India as an example. The reason Sunak is Prime Minister today and that his wife, father, Infosys, is a multi-billionaire is because India recognized the power of information technology from the 70s.
Yes.
And India postured itself. It started by being the call center of the world.
Yes,
remember?
yes, I remember.
People
that.
used to call in to Indian call centers to get directions how to use Microsoft and how to use all the other apps and programs that came and went. But they started there. They were willing to do the grunt work.
But it's all that speaks.
But the
to
point
countries.
I just want to make a point. Like this point I want to make. That Trinidad, we were blessed by oil or cursed. If you're Farid Zakaria for Time magazine, he called it the curse of oil. And the Dutch disease. I agree that oil was a curse because the people who was in government in Trinidad and Tobago, unlike the people of Norway or Finland, who understands, or even Guyana now, who see and understand that you have to have a bigger picture for this windfall because it's not forever.
Exactly. Exactly. And we learning that now.
But Trinidad didn't know. Exxon just make 2 bigger finds again in Guyana. Exxon is hyper. They're moving at a pace they never even envisioned in the history of their company in Guyana.
You're sure enough Venezuela oil they can never.
That conversation for Maduro. But the point I'm making is nobody in Trinidad and Tobago could tell you what Trinidad is now. Are we an industrial country? Are we tourism? Are we agri-based? Nothing. Nobody knows. Now the answer should be all of the above and more. Trinidad is fortunate that There was a time Tobago's real estate was the most expensive per square foot on the planet for cocoa. Trinidadians don't understand that for tourism, Tobago should be the #1 tourist destination on the planet. But industrially, with all of the natural gas that we still have or had, can't even know where it is.
Can I say this? We talk about the education system, and then you just segued into
No, because-
you just segued into the politics and what we should have done in terms of foresaw. And I want to say that all what is happening today is a product of our poor and failed education system.
I agree.
Right? It is.
I
Because
agree.
I remembered when Russia was they were talking about taking Ukraine. A US commentator would have said something about China and Russia. And that is that America will always have the upper hand on them because America could feed itself. Now think of Trinidad and Tobago. Small island, had a lot of resources, predominantly land. What's the land space in Trinidad and Tobago as opposed to the amount of people living?
We are 13% of the land.
Thank you. So you were saying that we have a budget for agriculture of $1.33 billion as opposed to a budget for education of somewhere upwards of $5 billion. What does that say? What does that say to common sense?
And that's the point, because you see, they can't put money in agriculture without knowing where they're trying to go. Trinidad was food self-sufficient up to the 70s. We used to export food. We were a net food exporter. If you can't tell Trinidadians that we are going to be in the marine industry, we're going to be building ships, we're going to be servicing ships, we're going to be stocking cruise ships, people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand. The whole cruise industry is premised on excess. That you buy a cruise and people just go to the cruise just to eat. They eat for about 5 days straight, right? They say food don't ever run out on a cruise ship. But food runs out in the pantry. Food runs out in the storeroom. And every time that cruise ship stops, they're taking back in stock because the food running out. And Trinidad could have been a major supplier to that. Shipping, the world's biggest shipping ship, was just launched. And the first stop it made was Singapore. Singapore is a massive shipping country. Transshipment is probably going to remain the biggest growth industry until 3D printing becomes the norm and you could print where you want and eat at home. But the truth of the matter is, the people who are going into secondary school and the teachers who are supposed to be guiding these children, short of telling them, become a doctor or a lawyer, you don't know what degree could help them get a job in Trinidad. There are people with useless degrees in this country that are doing other jobs.
Exactly. Exactly. My point exactly. The thing is, you have a lot of people who went to school, get a degree, 2 and 3 of them, and come out looking for a job. So, really, when you think about, there's no real education planning, because you would have a university that could, with a capacity to do a number of different things. If you were to peg what the university is teaching to the needs of the country's vision, the country's mission, that kind of thing. So you have everybody want to go and study HR. Everybody want to go and study because it sounds like something. Everybody want to go and study marketing. Everybody want to go and do an MBA. But nobody is doing, and the universities are allowing it.
Because
right?
the university is making money selling foolishness.
Good.
A master's degree, nobody in the world should be able to qualify for a master's degree unless you have 10 years work experience in the field.
Right.
Because now they want to say that with additional knowledge, you are a master of this craft.
Exactly.
There are a lot of people who just go in and get an MBA. It means nothing.
It means nothing. It means nothing in the scheme.
You are not a master of the craft.
In the whole scheme of things, because really and truly, and that's the next thing, in the US, for instance, the laws of demand and supply work. So if you have X amount of people graduating as probably a aeronautic engineer, you have competition in that area for the best engineer at probably American Airlines or wherever. That is not the case in Trinidad.
No, because you see in America and in first world countries, the government works with industry, the government works with stakeholders.
Exactly.
And they say that we are going to be broadening, like information technology, come back to that. We are going to be expanding into this field. The reason jobs go overseas, when you hear Donald Trump and people like him talk nonsense, jobs go where the professionals are.
Yeah.
Jobs go where the workers are.
Exactly.
Not just bottom line labor for packing a box. Jobs go where skilled labor is, where people who understand how to build an iPhone.
Exactly.
And if the people who building an iPhone is in India and China, you're not building it in America. It's not just price.
Exactly.
Apple was charging for their products beyond what the market would pay. Steve Jobs told, and I read his multiples of biographies, and I even read this guy Suzuki who worked with him from the start, and they were talking about Steve Jobs' vision. He was saying that people will pauperize themselves for a proper product, and he was intent on showing that. So that when Microsoft tried to launch Dune or Zoom or something as a music playing device, he took over the music industry. He killed CDs. He killed records and any remnants of any other device with his iPod players and then the iPhone. But he wasn't selling cheap. He was selling 2 and 3 times the price of what other people were trying to sell their technology for. But he was giving them a better technology. The point I want to make is this: if the state of Trinidad and Tobago was being led by people who understood that the children who are in primary school today need to be told in secondary school by their parents and the teachers and possibly guidance counselors that in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, these jobs will be opening.
That is called vision. That is called vision.
Vision-led leadership.
And the thing is, I was thinking the other day, with everything, Philip, a simple thing like, well, I'm into the HR and labor and employment law, but a simple thing like collective bargaining, that is so skewed in Trinidad and Tobago, and on both sides, private and government, but more government, you wouldn't believe. So if persons are clamoring all the time for more money, right, you would go and negotiate a collective agreement that gives an employee automatically increments every year, increase in pay, but you are not asking on the other side for more productivity. So the thing is, if you understand how economics work, if I hire you to work for me, and I pay you $20,000 a month, say, I know from your efforts, from your productivity, I'm making $100,000 on that. Does that occur? Anybody thinks about that in collective bargaining? The answer is no. So a union will sit down and they will make these demands, and the demand will be that you pay a worker X over a period of time, and on the third year you pay him Y. But nowhere in that agreement says how you would measure that worker's performance and peg it to the increase in pay. And that's the problem.
And I also want
that's
to
the problem. That's why our systems are cracking.
But you started by saying, and it goes beyond the company too, you started by saying the worker wants more money. But nobody just wants more money. People want money for what money could get you. I was actually in a
but
conversation.
everything works as a revolving thing.
You're right,
Economics.
you're correct, but I'm just saying that we don't practice economics in Trinidad and Tobago. We don't come at it from that
Nothing
is vision-led. Workers in a company, they don't just want a fatter wad of notes in their pocket. They want to know that I could get value for this money. The government should have been working. I want to give an example. Nestle, I don't know if they still do it, But Nestle, when you become permanent with Nestle and companies like Nestle, HR interviews you, a series of interviews during your career to find out what your vision is for your life.
Good.
What do you want to achieve?
That.
And they want you to achieve it within Nestle because they know the value of investing in you as an employee.
Thank you.
So that having to start over with somebody else, they don't want high turnover. They want to work with the workers. But what we've done in Trinidad and Tobago is we've corralled and trapped employees, and you're saying it correct, that we just measuring outputs. Nobody's measuring value. Nobody's talking the added value. If you could help, I was talking to this guy earlier he should be leading tutor. The man is talking things that tutor not talking. And if you keep talking money, all you will keep doing, all these bid rounds and all of these collective negotiations, 2013, 2016, all of this, all it does is fuel inflation, and you give me with your left hand and you take back with your right hand, because the increase I get, the increase in the cost of living just took it back away.
No,
I just want to add this to closing. That what the government should be looking at doing is a similar idea, and I'm giving Nestle a free ad, but it's companies like Nestle that understand the value of keeping workers for their whole life. And government and industry in Trinidad and Tobago should be using people like Stephan to negotiate with people and say, okay, listen, we have the power that if we buy 5,000 houses, we'll get houses at 50% the cost of the house. If I hire a builder and I tell him, okay, I am going to buy 50 acres somewhere in Trinidad. When you're buying land, raw land, 50 acres, it costs me 5 cents a mile. So I'm buying 50 acres of land, and I'm going to develop that land and make these houses available to my workers, to my employees, at the price that it costs me to build. So immediately, your increase that you wanted, I given you $1 million house of $500,000. As long as you work with me and I could deduct that $500,000 from your career, you are getting added from your salary, you are getting an addition $500,000 at the end.
So I want to say this. So I just said something about negotiating, and probably the persons who are listening might probably say that I'm one-sided, I'm only thinking from the employer side. But I'm a professional who look at things from a strategic level. Now, and you said it correctly. If you learn to value, employers and government learn to value the human capital in the business, and know that the human capital in the business is the most important element or asset in the business, because without them, unless your industry is just robots, without the human beings in the organization, nothing works, nothing can happen.
Correct.
So how do you appreciate that? Is through good compensation, either intrinsic or extrinsic compensation, and good management of performance management. And all those elements are strategic, because your organization will have a vision to move from point A to point B in the next 5 years, and a mission as to how we will get there. And your HR will then take that vision and that mission, and it will be materialized in how you hire people, how you develop people, how you recruit, how you compensate, how you do everything.
This whole antagonistic approach where you say 10%, I say 4%, all that percent is nonsense. It means nothing. In the big scheme of things, it means nothing. Now you imagine how much workers the PSA have? 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 70,000,
40 something, 60 something thousand.
You can imagine if the public service sat with Toyota and say, we represent 40,000 people. We want a 20% discount on the price of a car for our people if they come with a public service card. And you can have different levels of cards. That you're in the public service, 3 years you have a green card, 10 years you have a silver card, 15 years you have a black card. Now if you go in certain companies, that means something. Why the state is not helping people in bulk purchases? What the whole price smart model, the public service could put price smart out of business. I tell people this all the time.
So all of that comes down again.
Let me say this, let me finish this thought. Because The Afro-Trinidadian community alone makes and spends enough money every year to have bought Clico cash $25 billion. The Afro-Trinidadians in Trinidad could buy Ansa Macal cash every year.
Because they buy the most.
Every year. I want to give somebody credit. Dominic Hadid of Blue Waters. I was talking to Dominic Hadid a couple years ago. And he told me, say, I entered into a conversation with my workers outside the union. I told them this. These are our losses that we track. If we reduce those losses, I'll give you that money.
Thank you. That is what that is what real companies do. The thing is, and we were saying it, compensation is not just money. So if the union and the government understand that, there are intrinsic compensation too. So for instance, I tell people this all the time. I was reading a Google article all the time about a rocket star employee, how to compensate a rocket star employee. And how to compensate a rocket star employee is not usually with money. It's more about the emotional intelligence in managing people. How you see your workers, how you see your workers, how you speak to your workers. All these things are important, because if you don't understand that, you could be giving me any amount of money, but you talking to me like a dog. I don't really want to work with you.
Silicon Valley hire architects to build their companies for their workers, to boast about the quality of life they have at work. There are workers who don't want to go home. That life in the office is so much better. If you want to sit down on a beanbag, sit down on a beanbag.
Yes.
If you do your best thinking playing ping pong, there's a ping pong room.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. Human beings are not cattle. We are not beasts of burden. But Trinidad, we are.
But
we dumb our people down. We treat them like we exchanging labor for money. That's it. We're exchanging labor for money, and I'm going to try to get the most labor for the least amount of money.
And that is slavery. That amounts to slavery. Let me tell you why. I don't know if you remember, the US, parts of the US was the last place to abolish slavery, like Louisiana and the South.
Deep South.
Deep South. And they had a system called the sharecropping system. And what that system was that that was after they kind of fight them off the slavery model. And they decided to give the slaves, the ex-slaves, the land to work. And tell them that, well, you take the land is yours, right? You just produce it, and we will buy a cotton or whatever from you. But you know what they were doing? It was just another way to get them to do it, just like the education system does, and the Bible and everything. It was just another way to get them to do that, because when they come to selling it now, they were finding all kind of ways to get it free from them. Oh, we give you the gas, we give you this, we give you that, and you had to give us this free. So it was just another way.
No, but the model works though, and that is what the peasant class in England was before they all became landowners. But you could say that you have 100 acres of farmland and you hire 100 farmers and say, I give you an acre each, and then you grow, and 50% of what you grow is mine, and 50% of what you grow is yours.
It wasn't necessarily working like that under the sharecropping system.
No, but I understand that, and I understand that there will always be people who take advantage of people's lack of understanding and representation. And again, that's Trinidad. The reason WASA workers don't like to work for the government is government does not respect WASA workers. We have senators and members of parliament who not worth the paper their name written on, regardless of the degree they have. And if Trinidad is not the perfect example of the reason for me saying that, what has the parliament ever done? Trinidad had a blip in Point Lisas, an idea in Labedco. Nothing materialized. Point Lisas gone. So I don't even know if we ever recoup the return on investment. We built Intech Park in Wallerfield. All we built it for is for nature to come and take it back, because nothing ever happened there. Microsoft was supposed to come, remember? It was ways for them to feed, and that is what we have. We have government ministers. I watch a politician on Synergy TV this week here, and she talking and flailing her hands around, but not one idea. We have too many politicians who have not one clue, and it is why I ask, talk about a Syrian, talk about a arrogant, talk about a sexy. put all of us in a debate and say the winner of that debate is the Prime Minister. Because I tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago has never had vision-led leadership since the Queen gone. Look at the buildings in Port of Spain. What is Citygate that was added on to Her Royal Highness railway station? Citygate falling apart. But Her Royal Highness building is made of granite, and it was meant to last forever. It cost us 4 times what it cost the Queen to build in granite, to build that crap, those cow sheds that is Citygate, that falling apart. It cost us 4 times. Trinidad's governments, plural, have realized that governance and public office is a way to steal money. And then they use race to justify the section of the tribe. But they fooled their people. East Indians in Trinidad and Tobago succeeded in life not because of the ULF or the UNC. In fact, Bastio Pandey and the UNC sold them out. It was Bastio's Pandey plan that John Rahal executed that shut Caroni down without any idea for all that food producing land, for all those farmers. And you could have transitioned. If the world, if the European Union was paying you money to get out of sugar, grow dasheen, grow plantain, grow sweet potato, grow guava, grow soursop. Look, soursop is now recognized as a cancer fighter, natural cancer fighter. There are crops that we could be growing in Trinidad that don't need any kind of maintenance. Avocado, mango, these are export crops. The world, America exports apples to Trinidad. They should be taken, that same container should be going back with avocado and passion fruit. We could grow that normal. We build greenhouses to try and grow raspberries and strawberries. We have idiots in office. We have idiots in office, and we have idiots leading small political parties come to distract the people. And I'm telling Trinidad and Tobago this: when it comes to real leadership, visit www.21policies.com. We launched the Progressive Empowerment Party in 2017 with a manifesto, January 2017. That manifesto took 10 years. When I listen to these other politicians flinging nonsense, I hear people talking about the system and the procedure of governance. Tell me how you would run the country, because I could tell you, and we have plenty of people in this organization, and you don't want to debate me, you don't want me on your TV show, bring any of my team members, because they all will come and tell you how to fix education, how to fix healthcare, how to make Trinidad food self-sufficient, how to make housing affordable. You could make housing affordable in this country by offering zero deposit, zero interest housing to the entire country and shut down HDC. But HDC was never about housing for poor people. HDC was a way for contractors to feast on the treasury. So you're building apartment buildings where the apartment is not even worth 100,000, the contractor getting $1 million, and then you're subsidizing it and selling it back to poor people for 200,000. You rob 3 people there. It doesn't. What's going on in the country? Why all these sirens passing? Something must flood. Trinidad, rainfall, 5 minutes, the whole country flood. Look at what's going on with the roads in Trinidad and Tobago. Why that's happening with the roads? Because we're hiring contractors who should never have been building roads. We talk about they deliberately building roads to fall apart. They don't know how to build roads. Everybody who have a friend or a family or a cousin, giving them a contract. Go and build that road for me. Go and fix that road for me. Borrow a backhoe. Borrow a steamroller. They Google how to do it, and that's what they're doing. And we're getting roads. I'm watching the road that being built. I'm watching it because I'm seeing it day by day. The 1% Tanti flyover by Westbourne, and I'm watching the layers of dirt and gravel, and I know that it's being built to fall apart.
Yeah, I have a problem with that road.
I have a problem with that road because we spent $500 million on that flyover that nobody needs. When 10% of that money, $50 million, would have ended flooding in the entire east-west corridor, created retention ponds that would have saved all our water. Trinidad is being led by idiots.
And that's the next thing. How much it costs to do these things? It don't cost that nowhere else. Why it costs so much to build a piece of road in Trinidad?
You know, the Foreshore Freeway at the time was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most expensive quarter mile of road in the world.
Yeah, boy. I mean, a lot of money to do things, and you had to dig it up the next 2 years.
The Americans built some roads in Trinidad and Tobago, Wallerfield, the North Coast Road, Chagaramas. Why are those roads 80 years old surviving? They're now starting to get some trouble.
Ask the politician on your platform. Why roads? Why things cost so much money? Why for the government to buy a motor vehicle? Why does it cost so much?
Because they're using the courts to silence people. They're using senior counsels. The reason the law association and the entire justice system falling apart in this country is everything became a feast. And now they're using senior counsels to silence people from talking. Rohan Sinhaman, he is the worst minister of works the country has ever had. And his job is not about understanding how to solve problems. His job is understanding how to give contracts. And I just did a video today, and I showed Trinidad and Tobago from Damien Street to Bellsmith Street. The Port of Spain City Corporation demolished the pavement, clear the dirt, clear the rubble, put in the decking pan, put in the BRC, they're getting ready to mix the concrete. They already built the front of the pavement and they built it properly, and that is the Port of Spain City Corporation that is paid for that. Down the road on Arpita Avenue, the Alsing wife, Unicom, getting paid millions of dollars to do little sections of the pavement that they're doing some stupidness on Arpita Avenue to try and make it a carnival something. But the point I'm trying to make is, and I've asked this over and over, if URP could build the pavement, if CPEP could build the pavement, if local government could build it, if Ministry of Works,
so you have a whole set of duplication, because all of them getting paid by you.
They already funded.
Yeah, all of them getting paid, all of them working, and all of them could do the same thing, and all of them was designed to do the same thing.
If that is not criminal, what is? If that is not criminal, what is? We spent $500 million to refurbish a standing red house that could have built 10 more red houses. And Trinidadians, Kamla Prasad Biseso, who won that job, Gary Griffith, Michaela Pandey, all of them who raising their hand, hire me. Not one of them talking about these issues. And these issues have to be spoken about. Trinidad has a real disease, and that disease is greed. And that greed is a secret society of contract mafia operatives.
You know why people are not talking about it? Because they don't understand how it affected them. They don't understand when you take $5 billion to do something like that, where that money is coming from. I was listening to a commentator on the radio on one of them PNM radio station, 995 by evening, talking about they don't even want to pay tax, but they throwing things in the river and that kind of thing. Well, news for him, all of us pay tax, whether we like it or not, and we pay it every day as we buy things, as we consume, we pay taxes, a lot more taxes than the people who pay in income tax. So the thing is, you're not working, you're paying tax too. Everybody pay tax in Trinidad and Tobago.
The Minister of Finance
so the money, that tax money that you're paying is what is going in government consolidated funds so that they could squander it in the way we're talking about.
But absolutely. And the Auditor General used to have a role to play. The Auditor General and the Solicitor General, these are people that have roles to play in society. The reason legal briefs become contract in the Attorney General office, the reason all this going on with Nelson Gate and Anand Ramlogan and Amo and Faris, the reason is because the state has become a feeding trough for lawyers. And the Solicitor General, who used to determine where briefs went and what prices were paid, all that was changed. The Auditor General in Trinidad should have to review the budget before the Minister of Finance could stand up in the Parliament and talk the foolishness he talking. Call member just told the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for distraction, well, we balancing the budget, we found an extra 2.5 billion that we didn't pick up in our calculations. Brother, if you could misplace $2.5 billion in your calculations, they should fire you today.
2.5 billion.
2.5 billion.
2.5 million.
But he's trying to say that this is a win. That's some real silver lining views, boy. You as minister misplaced $2.5 billion. How much more did you misplace? This is the reality of this country, and people still sitting down talking African Indian nonsense. There has never been a value in this country for voting race.
Yeah, never,
it has never worked for this country.
So you fool African people and you say PNM is about African, but they're really not. When they get in office, look at the people who they support. Look at the people who they propose, whose business they put the money in, the government money in. It's not people that are looking like myself.
But Stephan, even if, and I'll never forget it, when the People's Partnership was in office, and I was a communications advisor to Gary Griffith.
The UNC might more be an East Indian party, but or a more equitable party. Because in my opinion, and ask the people in Trinidad and Tobago, they all say it. When they was in office, it appeared as though they were Stephan. They probably was. But people were surviving. People were living better than they are now today.
You know what you don't know? What it is smoke and mirrors. Because East Indian people didn't benefit from the trough when the PNM was in office, or very few of them did. So when the East Indians had control of what Lloyd Best used to call the cash register, and they started to fire people of African descent and reappoint people of East Indian descent in a whole community that never had that much money circulating in it, to them the government was working. But to all of the Africans, Afro-Trinbagonians who lost their money, it wasn't. So it's the same.
But still they are saying, and you had baby grant, you had all the other grants that was helping them.
It is the same nonsense when people tell me when Kamala was in office they had water, now they don't have water. Because there was people when Kamala was in office who didn't have, and now they get it because Rowley there.
Correct.
The country shouldn't be run by race.
Correct.
It shouldn't be because you're an Indian you're getting water. It should be because the government is in power, everybody getting water, and you must be able to tell the people how you will make sure that everybody. I remember Fitzgerald Hines on TV with Hema Ramkisoon, like a dancing bear, clapping when he was in England, and he told Hema, I couldn't believe, Hema, every time I turned on the tap, there was water in the tap. And I wanted to tell him, you fool, you were in a first world country. If there wasn't water in the tap, they would fire them. The governor of California was fired because current went 3 times in California. They recall him and fire him. And that's how you end up with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor of California. The reality of Trinidad and Tobago is it doesn't work because the people in government pass budgets on numbers that do not add up and then thief the money. And that is all it is. It is just theft. I stood up in what community, what constituency was this I went down to in the South, David, when this child nearly drowned in the drain? Between Orapooch, it was where Rudal and Rodney Charles, Naparima, all of them overlapped each other. And this guy was telling me, this guy of his East Indian descent, and it's on my video and it's still there. And he's trying to tell me that Kamala did this and Rowley didn't do that. And so I asked him, I said, so all these places, where? Barakpur. I say all these places that missing all the railings, is it that Kamala put railings and Rowley took it down? And if the answer is no, then you're just fooling yourself and stop making it about race and start to make it about representation.
About representation. But it have a lot to do with, and Stephan say it all the time also, understanding the state and the role of the state. Because to a large extent, persons when they want to get in office, they front a lot. They say things that they could do things that they really can't do, and I hope you don't fall in that category, because
nobody
there's a lot of things.
Ever said,
just now, there's a lot.
I can't let you say that, because nobody has ever said the things that I have said.
Right.
21policies.com is so powerful, and a lot of things we're talking about it is not in 21policies.com, but a lot of these political parties are now openly plagiarizing it, because we have real policies that will fix this country.
Right. But so what I'm saying is, politicians front a lot.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Front a lot in the electioneering. So they would say things to the populace that what they will do or what they could do, even when at the budgets. But they really can't, because there are other elements, there are other factors that must be factored in for them to be able to do it, and they are not in control of it. So, for instance, the PSs and the other functionaries inside there, they are the one who carries out government policies. But the minister and these people can't hold them and bend them over and cut the ass if they do it. They might move them around and that kind of thing. So for the most part, a lot of times, the people who foolishly taking the blame for it, they want the one, they probably had a good idea, they probably wanted it to happen. But the state does not allow it to happen in the way we think it should happen. And just now, and I'm not saying that they are not responsible, no, because they are ultimately responsible, the politicians, they are ultimately responsible.
So that's how I get from what you're saying. But what I was going to say to you is this, and I've said this repeatedly. Every system that operates in Trinidad and Tobago under the Constitution operates by a law that makes it possible.
Yes.
Every single thing. All of the permanent secretaries and the way the system is set up to run. If what you are rightly saying is our system is broken. I argued with Clyde Weatherhead. He was a trade unionist, he was a Congress and the People member, he's a lawyer. Clyde Weatherhead is trying to tell me that what I am saying, it makes the DPP an autocrat. I say, if I write the DPP a letter complaining about a high-level politician, the DPP will respond to me, as he has had repeatedly to do in the past, to say, we note your complaint, the DPP office does not investigate, we will refer it to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for an investigation. What I told Clyde Weatherhead is, if the DPP refers it to the police, and the police finds evidence of wrongdoing, it comes back to the DPP to instruct the police to prosecute. That is our system. To some, that system is not robust enough. There is no accountability. Nobody knows what is going on. You can't force the DPP to account to you and tell you what investigations are at what stage, because he is not a politician and he doesn't have to be elected to office. But he should. He should be, because of the power of his office, he should be accountable to the people. I watched Patrick Manning send police to lock up a Chief Justice. And I see the current Prime Minister, when the entire Law Association wanted to pull this Chief Justice down, he said his hands tied. Governments play the fool with people, and the public, jaded, and some of them lazy with their democracy, allows the fool playing, and we make memes and we make jokes, but we are burning needless tires in this country. The day the people of this country stand together, and again, because of the bad weather, we had to postpone what was happening this Saturday, but we have a mass public meeting on the 19th of November at Bamboo number 1 at our Bamboo office, and we are going to have proper contributions from people who understand.
Where exactly is that?
That is opposite Grand Bazaar, the northbound highway by the big playfield. I'll tell you, we have a guy in Trinidad called Dr. Ray Phillip. And because Dr. Ray Phillip relies on contracts from state and private sector, he can't speak out. We have people in Trinidad gagged either by the terms of their employment or by the terms of their wallet.
The promise of a contract.
Economic realities, right? But Dr. Ray Phillip, if he was the Minister of Transport, he could end national traffic in this country. I have all of the documents sent to me from all of the ministries that are connected with this building, this voter padding that they want to do in San Fernando West. And the speed with which all of these ministries say, we have no objection. And you know, David, I should have sent it to you. We'll do it again for next week. We have no objection, we have no objection, we have no objection. You should have objection. You should have objection to the voter padding between two schools. You should have objection to the voter padding where we were growing, where we had our seedling nursery in St. Augustine. But the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because it is so easy for them to say one from column A, one from column B, race both, your race do it, my race, I do it now. Trinidadians don't understand, and the majority of the voters don't get to see the world. If the majority of the voters got to touchdown in Singapore, just touch down.
But they could read it, they could go on YouTube
I
and find
know, but there's a difference in walking in a country where they tell you, try it. Walk with $10,000 cash and your cell phone. Put it on a table in a food court. That is my phone and my $10,000 cash. And go and get your food and come back. And your phone and your money there. Nobody might touch it. In malls in Singapore, the malls don't have locked doors. They just put one of them little velvet rope click thing to say we closed. Nobody will walk in the store and pick up something. The law enforcement and justice is so swift. It works so quickly. But in Trinidad, we have a problem because our justice system fails our law enforcement, so police don't want to run down petty crime. We have other situations where we have rogue police officers who are controlling petty crime in certain areas, and the police service knows that. And that Trinidad and Tobago needs a proper clean out. We need an internal affairs division similar to New York City, where those police officers are paid to prosecute rogue officers, and we would clean up the Trinidad and Tobago police service like that. And Gary Griffith knows that because Kerrick and these other guys explained that to him. I was there and I understand that our country is deliberately run bad because government after government have benefited from it.
But there are things, technology, that you can strategically use to fix those problems with rogue officers, you know.
Absolutely.
So if you simple thing like dash cams and body cams and thing on police officers,
Absolutely.
for you to bring a charge, we must have access to a dash cam.
Absolutely.
We must have seen what happened, what you
Correct.
saw.
Correct.
You know, those things are simple and those things are cheap. You can fix that.
Correct.
So it's amazing. We have some kind of age-old laws on our books like obscene language, annoying language, and resisting arrest and all them kind of things. Those things, police use that most of the time. When they want to silence you. So you sit down in your car taking pictures of a police action, they come and mash up your phone, and then they charge you for resisting arrest or obscene language. When really and truly, if you go to the court and the magistrate say, where is your body cam?
Where's your evidence?
Where's the evidence of that?
Yeah. Yeah, and the magistrate's supposed to take the police.
All of that will solve your problems.
Wayne Sturge said that repeatedly. Wayne Sturge said this is the only country where resisting arrest and obscene language is a charge by themselves.
Yeah.
You charge with nothing else but resisting arrest? What are they arresting you for?
Exactly.
What were you being arrested for in the first place?
Thank you.
That should have been the first charge.
So the
resisting arrest is an ancillary charge.
Exactly. So these are things that you need thinking people. These are the things that are causing
now look
crime.
at the morons in the parliament, in the cabinet, and the government. You point out a thinking person to me.
Yeah, these are things that will save crime.
Point out one thinking person to me. Trinidad, we talk about our drug trade and our narco trafficking and our firearms, 40,000 illegal arms in the country. We don't make that here, and we all know that coming in somewhere. All of it not being smuggled across the beach. It coming in through legitimate 20-foot and 40-foot containers. We've been saying unstuff the containers on the port. Doma say that will slow down sales. Bullshit. Singapore moves more containers in a day than we move in 5 years. We could unstuff our containers on the port, and you could pick. You don't unstuff all.
No, well,
but from the time importers know.
No, well, it's a course is creating work for other people, you know? Because I bought an item, a machine in China, right? And I paid my shipping and everything for it to reach in Trinidad. When it reached in Trinidad, a few days after, a broker called me to tell me that I don't know where they come from. They called me to tell me that my thing here. When I look at the charges, they're charging me for stuffing, they're charging me for a huge amount of things in US, by the way. And then I have to go by some warehouse in Aranguez to pick it up. They give me about 7 days to produce the papers for it. And every day after that is a cost.
Yeah, but you see, everything's set up to fail deliberately.
So it's set up for these people here to make money, money on you after you purchase your stuff.
You can't
it's just crazy.
A single person, a single demographic. Look at the elders, they can't get their pension. Look at them on the price of medicine. Look at them on home ownership, the banks, how the banks treat them. You, from the time you cross a certain age as a man, you need to pay all the time. You go in a bank in Trinidad, nobody have restrooms. The elders, they have no access for people in wheelchairs. We don't treat these people with respect. There should be special lines in the banks for the elders. Just the banks. The groceries offer special day. Monday, elders only. You could come, but people on crutches and in wheelchair, the handicapped. There is no group. There is no group. You can't say women happy. Women not happy. Trinidad's a frightening place if you're a woman. We are Neanderthals in this country. We prey on women. I have a thread, a conversation on social media, and two people speaking on the thread, and I realize one is Sean Luke mother, and the other is Andrea Barrett father, and I realizing how insane this country could be, that two gruesome acts of murder, those families could be just in my thread. The country has left, not even men not happy in Trinidad. Men hustling and getting by. That's why alcohol and drugs so prevalent in Trinidad. You have to be stoned or high or drunk to happy in this country. Nobody happy. The business class, the middle class, there is nobody that happy. Police service, not happy. The people in the army, the Coast Guard send me.
Well, the business class with me happy right now.
But Coast Guard, they have Coast Guard.
For good reason. Because the Prime Minister said it is not bad for the business to continue to get richer because they will employ the poor people.
He's talking about his 1% friends.
But that is nonsense.
He's talking about his 1% friends. That economic bullshit don't work.
Because what do rich people do when they get money? They spend it abroad. They do things other than...
No, but it's not only that. When a poor man get money, he spend that money in the economy.
Exactly.
He need
so he is the one who should be giving the money to turn around the economy.
Keith Rowley's as dumb as a post. He only have that job because of race voting. Keith Rowley only have a position in the parliament because of voter padding in Diego Martin West. And this nonsense about you could put a crapo in a Balize tie and it could win. It's the truth. Keith Rowley couldn't win as an independent. He couldn't win as a UNC representative. So if that is our reality, the voters have to ask themselves, if I'm not voting for the man, I'm voting for the party, and the party not serving me, what's the point? If black people in Trinidad and Tobago think that their share of the $3 trillion that pass through this country is European CPF job and a hopeful HTC, they're woefully misguided.
Yeah, for real.
Woefully misguided. Where is the black leadership in this country to explain to people what $3 trillion is? Somebody told me the deposit of $1 million, $1 billion, and $1 trillion.
Everybody could be millionaires comfortable. we could be living like certain countries right in the Caribbean here.
Listen, Norway, who got oil after us, has put aside $125,000 pension for every person alive. That's not the sum total of it, but that is your entitlement. From the time you retire, you can lump sum or you can take it chirrup, and if you're dead, your children inherit it. Come on, you trying to tell me that we can't deal in this country? All those 41 morons in the parliament, we not debating the cost of living to the elders. We're not dealing with issues. You know, during the lockdown, women were losing their jobs and couldn't afford sanitary napkins.
I'm telling you.
It took people with good hearts. I remember my son was one of them that formed themselves into organizations that raised money and bought sanitary napkins and gave it away to women in the third wealthiest nation in the Western world. How is that our reality?
Wealthy on paper.
Wealthy on paper. They thief the money. They thief the money. David Rudder said in Panama, they thief the money, thief the money, thief the money, thief the money. They thief the money. And you cannot continue to accept. And I want to say this because a lot of that sound like bad news. But Trinidad is so blessed. This country's cup runneth over. We could quickly become wealthy and more powerful than Guyana. Trinidad per square foot is, I think this is biblical Eden. There is nothing you could do wrong here if you wanted to do right. But we have people in office who only want to do wrong. When the UNC came into office and realized that Faris Arawi building at 1 Alexandra Place was wrongfully done. They were to terminate that lease with Nahus. Instead, they went into their own bacchanal inside that building, doing outfitting of the building for $20 million. $20 million are building up the street, twice the size, sell for 10. Trinidadians have to wake up to the reality and stop defending foolishness, because while you're fighting race and suffering, people who are in your race
giving away your patronage. Giving away your patronage. That's what they're doing. That's unfortunate.
When you said to me in the beginning that people predominantly vote race, there is an inherent self-defeating stupidity to give the power of your vote away for anything that does not make your life better. I've told people over and
I hear
over,
people say we voted the lesser of the two evil.
you're still voting evil.
Yeah.
You're still voting evil.
The lesser of two
No,
evils.
but listen, there is a progressive empowerment party, and I say this, and I say this without fear of contradiction. There is no political party in this country that has the breadth and depth of knowledge or people available to explain to you what you should have. And I'm saying this, you should say, all of the Indian voters in charge should tell Kamala, debate Phillip, or we blanking you. And all of the Afro-Trinbagonians should tell Rowley, debate Phillip, we blanking you. Ignore Gary and Michaela and all these other foolish distractions. They ain't going nowhere. Every single thing that Gary put out ties somehow to him becoming commissioner of police. And I want to know, if he wasn't in the running, how he would have felt knowing that there is a politician in a campaigning political party shortlisted for commissioner of police when police officers not allowed to have political involvement.
Right.
And I just say,
but I know that was a political ad, but hear what?
that is not a political ad. This is, listen,
Hear what?
it is time we feed the people fact.
Hear what?
Fact.
Hear what? What I feel the people need to know in Trinidad and Tobago is more of what you plan to do for the people, how you plan to do it, and less of maybe attacking the power structure. Because if you know the people, when you attack the PNM in the way you attack them sometimes, it comes across as bitter. And for the most part, most of the people you're attacking is people who is your voters. So maybe you should probably
Temper.
just not temper, but you should probably revise your strategy.
You're not wrong.
To telling the people more. You can show them, but telling the people with good examples, show them how you will do what you want to do.
I want to tell you, the reason I get the massive support that I get, especially on social media, is because how frank and honest I am.
Yes, I want to remain so.
But I want to say this to you, no, but you're not wrong, and I want to tell you this. I have to combat the media block with a counter shock of my own. I have to work as hard as I do. People tell me I work harder than the parliament. I am every single day. There are days I put out 2, 3, 4 videos. I solve problems. I am all over the country. Somebody said, but you was just in Diego Martin this morning, you in Takariva this evening. But that's, I know, and I tell them all the time, no politician could say, they sent for you. They sent for me. I volunteering for
you probably the richest man, the biggest philanthropist in Trinidad.
If you work out the hours that are not being paid for, yeah, because I have been in the definition of public service. We were supposed to bring Rolling Thunder on this show today. Those of you who don't know him by his name, and I called his name last week when we were dealing with, and I want to say to you, give yourself a round of applause, because after last week's show, Miss Gertrude Peters was released from the home. And there are other people who are reaching out to me now, whose family and loved ones are trapped in homes. If I pick up the phone and I call the home and I say, this is Phillip Alexander and we are calling to find out about so, they say, listen, have their relative come and pick them up. Because they understand that we will come at them and that we will solve the problem. I don't want to get sidetracked and forget that when you speak from the middle of the road. Stephen Matheson comes on these shows, and I respect that you do, because it's not supposed to be politics. And Stephan not here today, so we went down a little political road, because we normally wouldn't, not from the Progressive Empowerment Party anyway. But the point I want to make is, there are a lot of people in this world who do not live in Trinidad. People like my brother who raised his children in foreign jurisdictions. My brother's children are Canadian. They're 29 and 30 years old now. And Trinidad is a lovely place to visit for them, but they're not Trinidadian anymore. He still miss home. And there are a lot of people
I was by a family in San Grande, because one of my aunt died over the weekend, and somebody was telling me about your brother, how much they listened to him and how much he saved them and their families during the COVID-19.
And he's going to be at our November 19th public meeting because he's our Minister of Health designate. I was talking about Dr. Ray Furlong before because he's somebody I speak to regularly. His understanding of traffic, the reason Cinnamon and Imbert and them not making sense is their traffic plans have nothing to do with traffic and everything to do with contracts. There is nobody in this country, nobody, who could explain that overpass that they built in Diego Martin other than they promise somebody a contract and say put an overpass there. It goes to nothing.
If I didn't believe that, I would have to agree with you. I'll tell you why. When we display smart with real stupidness in Trinidad and Tobago. Our problem may not necessarily be a traffic or a congestion problem. Our problem might be a lack of strategic thinking with traffic management in Trinidad and Tobago. So, for instance, when you look at the new regulations on probably traffic tickets and things, you could only surmise that is a fundraising exercise. You could only surmise this is a fundraising exercise because it is solving nothing. You'd want to ask, what was the mischief? What was the mischief they're trying to solve in all of this? Because if you are saying that you could charge a man into poverty, take his vehicle and all that kind of thing after he reached 13 or 12 or 13 demerit points, then where is the transportation system to facilitate him and his family after you do that? So you just import a first world nation system on a third world nation platform. So if you go to New York, for instance, you could almost come out to your apartment and walk on the street and go into a bus, which will take you to a train station, and you could take a train and go anywhere. Anytime also. Do we have that in Trinidad and Tobago? So the first thing we have to start thinking about is traffic management. How do we manage that? Right? Whether we have a system where we have carpooling, toll highways, whatever, we don't necessarily need these huge highways.
Stephan,
what we need is thinking.
Stephan, the automobile importers that pay big fat donations to political parties don't want
and not to mention a vehicle, to purchase a vehicle. You know, if you buy a vehicle in St. Vincent, it doesn't cost you, the same vehicle doesn't cost you the amount it costs in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, here we
right?
gouge.
We paying about 60% of the price you're paying for a vehicle is taxes.
We've gouged, but I want to say, and what I'm trying to tell you is,
so all of that, I was thinking,
when Uber was here, and I used Uber a couple of times, I said, I selling my car. Days had passed and I had no reason to use my car. I was Ubering everywhere. And then I started thinking, you know what? Unlike the member of parliament for what's his name? Pine Debal. Unlike the member of parliament for Pine Debal, I do have a bike and I do ride around and I enjoy it. We need bike lanes and we need proper transport, and you're right, and there's too much things that obstruct. Another thing, you're talking about the fundraising. You know, I was thinking, if police on motorcycles with body cams was just handing out $100 fines to everybody who driving in the right lane, who should be in the left lane,
make more money than
boy, they could run the whole police service.
Exactly.
Just that. $100, it gotta be 3,000.
Exactly.
It could be 100, it gotta be a merit, demerit. It could just be
They charge people for that?
not
To
every.
me, that causes most accidents.
Look now, that's causing most traffic.
Yeah.
The-
And traffic.
Half the demerit points nonsense is attached to the wrong things. So as you
Exactly.
said, you're not solving a problem, you're creating a problem.
Exactly.
Because if somebody not wearing a seatbelt, that shouldn't be a demerit point. The only person he put in danger
It's himself.
Charge
If he
him.
break a light, that should
That's
be
a
a demerit
demerit
point.
because he put other people in
Because
danger. Correct.
You understand?
But there was no thinking at the level of the planning. And then they go in the parliament in their shirt and tie and bamboozle the population with their bacchanal and crosstalk. And Trinidadians don't even watch the parliament channel anymore because there's nothing.
Waste of time.
There's nothing there for nobody.
Waste of time.
There's nothing there for nobody. There's nothing that gives you hope. People in the country are walking around like the zombie apocalypse. Just get through the day. Just get through the day. Just get through the day. You don't know when a slab of an unmaintained school going and fall and hit your child in the head. You don't know when a child going and drown because the place flood because the system don't work and the road built bad and you don't know. All of these things are important to be discussed. You don't know when you're going to go in the grocery and find that they have nothing in the grocery that you could afford. You don't know when that day come in. Trinidadians are 2 and 3 months away from homelessness. They're not paying attention. The government, and when you are homeless, ask people. A lady just called me to talk about they cut off her current and they cut off her water because they want her off the piece of land that she have 16 years she living there and she should have some kind of benefit. And there's nobody for her to go to unless
People are really on the edge.
there's nobody to
Really,
turn
really on the
to.
edge.
I wanted Wayne Sturge on the show to talk about the justice system and the inadequacies of the complaints, and there's no way to report people. We have a country of dictatorship at multiple levels, and
Multiple levels.
Trinidadians need to understand they could vote themselves a better country, but you cannot continue along this path and expect. You know, they say you can't keep planting ginger and hope to reap apples. This is what it is. You are stuck in a never-ending cycle of hate, greed, racism, and corruption. It's time to clean house. There is none of them. You cannot tell me, I was talking to one of these UNC hopefuls, wannabes, and she's telling me about her party has a plan. Your party never had a plan. UNC's only promise was the Indian people they would do better than under the PNA. And that was it. And you give them some box train contract, you lego some water and put up some lampposts, and that was better. But it's not enough in a country that could make the kind of money and provide the kind of quality of life. If you were serious public health, you could have fixed some important things. Kamla Prasad Bisasa was a minister of education. She could have fixed education. We could have outlawed the SCA. It don't take 5 years to do that. Cancel it, abolish it. Make all schools 10-year schools, transition.
And you don't have to go far. You don't have to go. You see, you don't have to go far to figure these things out. Nope. You don't even have to travel.
Nope. You can Google it.
You can Google it.
Finland's education model is the highest in the world. Finland don't have homework. Finland has sent their children to school from 7 years old. In Japan, the first 3 years of school from the age of 5 is learning manners and how to get along. Trinidad and Tobago, we have these children, as you said earlier, we're making employees.
Yeah, so they say that Trinidad has the highest, the second highest literacy in the third highest literacy.
Who said that?
In the country. Well, that's the survey say that. Just so
Which survey?
Let me explain that to you, right? So that is the Guyana, not Guyana. That is the Barbados and Cuba, right? Now, when we talk about literacy, we talk about almost everybody get an opportunity to go to a primary school free, and then go to a secondary school if you pass the SCA or the common entrance or whatever. That is what they measure that by. But what they should say is that for the amount of money that is spent in Trinidad and Tobago on education, we have the highest level of functional literacy.
But it's two different
Because
things.
people aren't able to critically think.
and
They're coming out with all kind of degrees,
But that's the point.
but they can't work.
You could read a book and you can regurgitate, but you can't think. You
Exactly, you can't
can't
think.
logically deduce. You can't make assumptions, and from those assumptions draw conclusions, which is the foundation of science.
Exactly.
We have nothing like that going on in Trinidad and Tobago because we don't encourage it.
Thank you.
And we don't. But when you said that compared to Cuba that have the highest standard of medicine in the world.
Yeah.
Cuba that have the best agriculture in the Caribbean. Cuba that is engaged in gene splicing and food technology. That Cuba.
Yeah, but they said Cuba is the first, the most literate country in the Caribbean.
But
and then of course Barbados, and then of course Trinidad and Tobago.
But Barbados that don't have nothing that we have, that just had tourism. And let me tell you something here. Barbados, on its best day, want to grow up and be Tobago. Tobago is the best country, the best island in the world, and we made a mess of that. The largest brain coral on the planet, the Bucco Reef, the nylon pool. I keep telling people, if the Bahamas had a nylon pool, it would be on the front page of the National Geographic magazine. We have things that the world don't have. God embarrassed us with riches. We have the largest pitch lake in the world. We have the nylon pool. There are so many things that you can sit down here and just boast that we destroy. The boats, the glass bottom boats, dragging the anchors across the Bucco Reef, killing the Bucco Reef. Literally killing the goose that lay in the golden egg. They put nothing in place.
Yeah, man, you want to talk about
You
Jawala? You wanted to talk about Jawala? The appeal.
I don't think that is over. So I think you can stick a pin in that till next week when Stephan is here, because I'm sure he will have a lot to say on that. Yeah?
Okay, well.
I think today we touch on some good topics. And again, the public must hear people in public life who are willing to give you solutions. Solutions are important. I listened to Sunak talk and he was explaining to the public. He said I could go out there and borrow tens of billions. This man deals with billions in his personal life and in his business life. He was a hedge fund manager for Goldman Sachs. Money is what he knows. He said I can borrow those tens of billions of dollars and hundreds of billions of dollars that labor wants me to borrow, but they will affect your mortgage payment. And
It will affect everything.
but what he's trying to explain to the public, and what our politicians don't explain to the public, is every time government moves, it affects the value of the money in your pocket.
Exactly.
And the value of the money in your pocket is what workers and labor and unions should be talking about. How do I get more value? How do I get more food? How do I get more groceries? How do I get better education?
Thank you. And that's the role of the government. The thing is, it's like someone was saying that maybe you should raise the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage will do more damage to the poor man than it will help them, right? Because when you raise the minimum wage and an employer has to pay more, what he will do, he will transfer that into the price of his
somebody else will pick up that.
And somebody else will pick it up, but the employee too will have to pick it up too.
Absolutely, you buying the same bread,
right? So you might get a $1 increase in per hour, so you might get $12 more per day, but you might pay about $50 more for the item.
You know who that's like? That's like the people who go on budget there and fill up their tank. You win.
Full up the tank. Two days
like this is the only tank I gas buy.
Yeah.
You understand?
It just makes no sense.
You win $30. Well done. No, because what we're supposed to do is unite. What we're supposed to do, and I mean, as listen to the things you touch on, you touch on critical issues. Talking about minimum wage and devaluation, we have to first understand the value of our money in the first place.
Exactly.
I don't understand how the third wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere, a country where 101% of all of our economic activity for 50 of our 60 years were based on export. How come Barbados can have a 2-to-1 exchange rate and we be 7-to-1 with America? And how could we have a 7-to-1 exchange rate but a 6-to-1 if you sell in them US?
That is from borrowing. We don't understand money. How money, the use of money, borrowing money, and that kind of thing.
Advantage of us. They're taking advantage of us. That 13%.
But the US does it too, eh? The US does it
No,
too.
but
The US borrows.
They
The US
manipulate their currency.
Exactly, they manipulate their currency.
But we're not manipulating our currency here. In China, we're using our currency for economic slavery. Why would we have a dollar? You just spoke about the value of a car. Why would we have a dollar 7-to-1 US but 13-to-1 in purchasing power?
Yeah.
In purchasing power, in what you could get. I tell people all the time, if you dig in a hole in America and you dig in a hole in Trinidad and you're getting $10 an hour to dig that hole, what you get for that $10 is what matters.
Exactly. I tell people that all the time.
It's not the amount.
So when the politicians come and say, well, the same thing happened in the US, listen, The man who working for $3,000 in the US and the man who working for $3,000 in Trinidad, the man in the US could live with that 3,000.
And it's dollar for dollar.
That 3,000 only carrying you and your family
Brother,
for 3 days.
Use the analogy of the hole. You get $10 to dig the hole in New York City, you get $50 to dig the hole in Trinidad. In New York City, you're getting $10 items in McDonald's. In Trinidad, you can't get 2.
Yeah.
And so what is the point of the more money? The bigger number and getting less. It is the value of the money.
It's the value of the dollar at the end of the day.
Well, at the end of the day, we had to bring it to a close, and the rum shop is always a nice place to stop and talk. I mean, the weather this whole week, and brace, listen, you're watching this live, never take weather warnings lightly. Even if we dodge it 100 times, don't be the fool that the 101st time that it hit us and you're not ready. Be ready. Make sure that you have your situation sorted out. For the elders, make sure that any medication that they're going to need, think about the country. If the country shut down for 2 weeks, what you're going to need. Make sure you have your medicine and those kind of things that you have to have. Seal them in plastic bags. Put your passport, your birth certificate, any extra money you have, seal it. Make sure it's available to you. Put it high. People who live in flood zones, tape off your doors. Go and buy Gorilla duct tape. I'm telling you all a nice secret. Go and buy Gorilla duct tape. It's black. And when you come home, the doors that you're not using, tape them shut outside and inside and no water coming in. Because it works and I've done it. Right?
What people don't understand all over the world, and I've heard persons in Sri Lanka say that what the government should start focusing on is climate change, because what is happening, these new weather systems is not normal. We've never seen them in the world. The thing is, climate change is what is causing these kind of weather systems. Look how many storms have been developed out of Africa in this hurricane season. Almost every day you have a new one coming. The thing is, climate change is creating these kinds of weather system, and we have to be very, very wary about how we protect ourselves against it, because it is not normal. It's not a normal kind of rain and that kind of thing that falling.
People realize the volume of ice that falling into the sea, cooling the Humboldt current. The Humboldt current is what makes that figure 8 between Europe, Africa, South America, and North America. And when it passes and it picks up the hot air from the Sahara Desert, that's what starts the centrifugal.
That is what creating the whole thing, fueling the whole system.
So we have to pay attention, because we're not only just talking about sea level rise, we're seeing the effect of sea level rise on our east coast. Mayaro again eat up. Mayaro again eat up, and nobody's talking Manzanella, and nobody's talking about these things, because we have governments that come in there for a minute just to thief money. Let us as a nation take a minute to realize that the countries that work, when you see England fire 3 prime ministers in 3 months, understand, those people take their government seriously. If I hire you to do a job and you're not doing that job,
or you're less than truthful,
I don't care who you are, I will fire you. I will fire you. And Trinidadians, and that's the meeting we're having on the 19th of November. It is time to talk about firing them.
Yes. It's time you go. Just go. But guys,
thanks a lot for joining us in the Rum Shop. Stephan, we're looking forward to you next week. Thank all of you who are watching. David Welch and crew. David is our massive producer. Satish Ramsaran, our studios, and you're seeing the volume of shows coming out of the Progressive Empowerment Party. David did a wonderful show last night as a youth arm.
Yes,
and they had a lot of people on give me a lot of feedback today. It was a real good show. So Felicia Holder will be here, I think, later on tonight with the business affiliates of the Citizens Union. So great work, David, and great work, Satish and crew. Well, Stephan, you more than carry your share of the conversation today. I want to say thanks to you. So bring us the applause.
Yes, well, today was a good day. People, Trinidad and Tobago, and we touched on a multiplicity of issues that are affecting Trinidad and Tobago and governance, and we look forward to having the show next week. Right?
We in the Rum Shop.
We in the Rum Shop.
We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
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 So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah.
So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah.
Darren's Air Conditioning Services. Professional services at affordable prices. They have air conditioning units starting at $2,700 with free delivery, installation, and Wi-Fi ready. We supply Pioneer, Lennox, Comfy, and Infinity, all at unbeatable prices. Servicing of a 12,000 BTU at only $150. Don't forget to check them out on Google, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So contact Darren's Air Conditioning Services at 749-8245. Darren's Air Conditioning Services. Professional services at affordable prices.
JC Men, Gen Couture and Studio 52, your one-stop shop that meets all your needs. From men's clothing to women's fashion, it's all here under one roof. This is shopping galore and fashion with a difference at Studio 52. Come visit us. We're located at Penco Street, Chaguanas, or call us today at 1-868-775-1747.
So, how are you enjoying your dinner, Booby Looby?
Well, it's really well seasoned, and partially spicy.
Well, I make it my priority to exfoliate my meat before divulging in the steamy essence of love. Yeah, you know what I mean? Rock back.
Did he just put Alcalado in here? Are we still speaking about the food?
Of course, Booby Looby. Look, let me emancipate the AC to cool things down.
Oh my, that's cool.
Yeah, that's Neil cool, baby. Now who could be possibly summoning my time at this present moment? Don't move a muscle. I'll be back.
Oh, Neva! Everything good, Danny, I saw. Wow! Neva! I see you walking my hood away.
Neil cool.
Hold on, I can't try. Who? Neva!
Alright, Booby Looby. Apologies. Now where were we? What are you doing inside here?
You want in one square, done already. What? Who are you want to say again, right?
Neil cool, boy. Neil cool. Come down, man.
Nel cool.
Come down. You're killing my date, man.
Look like you're turning your sharp on a brother.
Just leave, please.
Go on.
But what trouble is this, boy? Now where were we, Booby Loobies? What do you think about having a brief entanglement?
Yeah, very much ice.
I tell you, Neil cool, boy. Neil cool. Just come out of my place for my
Go on, yeah, go on, place and move so much.
You don't overdo it, man. You don't overdo it. You're just inappropriate, man. Oh, shucks. I'm cranky my style, man. Rock back.
If you're looking for the coolest of the cool, just call Neil Cool. Guaranteed to have the best prices and after service care. And if you're looking to save big on your electric bill, ask about the ATL units, 7 years on compressor and 2 years on parts. So call them today, message on Facebook or Instagram and get cool. Stay cool with Neil Cool.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Hub, located at 1A Jenningham Junction Road, Chaguanas, opposite the Charlieville gas station. Come on in and get 10% off all prescription and 20 to 30% off selected dispensary medication. At the Pharmacy Hub, we have a wide range of over-the-counter drugs to provide the best quality of health and fitness to you. From personal care items to stationery and toys, the Pharmacy Hub has got you covered. The Pharmacy Hub, providing the best care at the best time to you.
Contractor Homes, a loving, safe, caring senior care living facility where your family becomes our family. Our experienced caregivers are trained and overseen by our registered nurse who has years of experience in psychiatric nursing and working with geriatrics. We provide a safe living environment for your loved ones. Come and visit us. We are located at 4 Roads in Diego Martin. Contractor Homes, we are family. View us on Facebook, Contractor Homes. Contact us at 684-2873 or 468-3186.